Racing games have been pretty dead recently. If you ask me, the golden age of racing games were probably somewhere during the PS2 era up into about 2009. I think some people would argue that the first Forza Horizon was probably the last golden racing game, and to be honest, I'd be inclined to agree. There's something which those racing games had, which we just don't have in the current day, and that's why I'm on Burnout Paradise today. As a crash. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But as well as that, there's also a lot of discussion to be had about if we're ever going to get another golden age of racing games. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But for me, there's a lot of discussion to be had regarding, you know, whether we're ever even going to get a golden age of racing games back, and what is the future, and what is actually happening with racing games, because right now, they are looking very, very shit. Now, this is coming from someone who, you know, I like to think racing games are my main genre. I kind of main shooters and racing games, and it always has been that way, ever since I've had access to online, pretty much. Even before, like, I had access to online, it was pretty much exclusively racing games. And when I was growing up, it was always one of those things, one person from my school... What? There was not one person from my school that hadn't played Burnout, Midnight Club, or Need for Speed. If you roll back to, like, what, 2005 when I was in primary school, like, those three games were some of the most popular games ever. Everyone had played those games. Like, to not play a Burnout game, a Need for Speed game, or a Midnight Club game at some point in your childhood, you were clueless. For me, at least, and where I grew up, those were just as popular as FIFA games and sports games and stuff. And if you were to ask anyone, they'd probably played Midnight Club 3, Burnout 3, or a Need for Speed Most Wanted. And this links in perfectly to why we're on Burnout Paradise today. Because one thing I feel like racing games lack, you know, dramatically in the modern era, is both build quality and personality. We have games like Forza Horizon, which is built tremendously, and you know, there's so many things great with that game. The build quality is amazing. You can't falter a modern Horizon game's build quality. There's no bugs, there's nothing wrong with it. But the problem with Horizon is it's bland and there is no personality. We do a flip 180 to Need for Speed, that game has tons of personality. That game, like especially 2015 specifically, there's nothing about that game which doesn't ooze personality and doesn't ooze, you know, hints of finesse. But it's broken and it's buggy as fuck, and there's no middle ground. Like I said, Burnout Paradise nails both of those on the head. I can't think of many glitches this game has, to be honest. I can't think of many problems this game... Mad. Apparently we can drive away in that as well. And that's exactly what I mean. Personality. What racing game can I beat up a car to the point where it looks like a brick and still drive it? Personality and build quality are the two things which are desperately missing from pretty much all current day racing games. The only game which remotely comes close is The Crew, and that's actually where this video stemmed from. I was going to make a video about why The Crew 2 needs to be good, because it really does need to be good. There's no racing games coming out this year, AAA games, other than The Crew 2. I'm not going to bother mentioning Super Street and other indie titles because those come out pretty much all the time. But in terms of a AAA title, The Crew 2 needs to be a good game. I actually scrapped that video because I didn't think it was good enough, but it got me thinking about this discussion of, are racing games dead? The three games I mentioned earlier being Burnout and, well, the three franchises I should say, being Midnight Club, Burnout and Need for Speed. In the golden era 10 years ago, all those games both had personality and tremendous build quality. You can say whatever you want about Burnout 3, Most Wanted and Midnight Club 3, and those are the three games I'm going to use as an example. Obviously you can mix and match, whatever. But I can't doubt that game for their build quality or the personality, because it had both. I'm still driving away. What is going on? And to me, out of the most recent racing games, Payback looked like it was going to be both. You know, with obviously having the 2 years of extra development time, which they didn't have, you know, all those years ago, and having the expertise from 2015, I think we all assumed Payback was going to be that, but that's quite clearly not the case. If Forza's track record is to prove itself again, that's probably not going to be it either. That's probably going to be another tech demo, which leaves us to The Crew. They've had a lot of time to develop this game that they're making, and I have no doubts that Ivory Tower is going to come up with something amazing, because they always do. But they do have problems with bugs. They are overly ambitious, but unlike Ghost, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. The Crew 1 now is not a buggy game. Obviously it has little problems here and there, but for the most part that game is pretty spot on. For me, the Crew 2 could be one of the most recent golden age of racing games. And I'm not saying that, you know, like we're going to go through a current age where a bunch of racing games are amazing. But the Crew 2 could be a return to form to what has been a genre which has been laying dormant, I'd say, since 2015. In 2015, I believe we had the Wild Run DLC. If it wasn't 2015, it was 2014. And then obviously we had Need for Speed 2015. And like I said, Need for Speed 2015 is not a golden racing game by any stretch of the imagination, purely based off the fact that it's a buggy mess. But those were the last kind of period of racing games where we could sit down and say we had a lot of racing games to play, and there was a lot of variety. I need to stop crashing. I keep noticing I'm crashing quite a lot. I'd say that was the last year where we could say that we had a lot of racing games to play, and it's really worrying, especially as a racing game YouTuber, seeing that this year, other than Horizon and the Crew, there's no major launches. It worries me so much. It really does. It worries me so much that it doesn't seem like anyone can do it right. No one can do this. No one can give me an actual satisfying crash cam. No one can give me a really funny DJ, you know, out on the radio. No one can give me a game which is both not free of bugs, or, you know, very limited bugs that don't, you know, like, actually ruin the game, but at the same time, actually give me some personality in the game to the point where I feel like it's a warming place to be, and not just, you know, almost pandering. I think Horizon's quite pandering. I'm not sure if I'm the only one that feels that way. A lot of people have been pointing a lot of fingers to Payback. A lot of people, me included. And it deserves all the fingers that have been pointed to it because of all the reasons people have mentioned. But Payback isn't the sole reason why racing games are the way they are. And it's one of those things, I do thoroughly believe we are going to get a golden age of racing games again. Trends just tend to follow and rinse and repeat. So I do believe that we're going to get one day, you know, we're going to get, you know, what I said earlier on with those 3 series being Midnight Club, Burnout and Need for Speed. We're going to get something as an equivalent to that. I do thoroughly believe that. It might be a while, to be honest, but I do thoroughly believe that. And as someone who does main racing games, that is my main genre. My main 2 genres are shooters and racing games. And that's the way it's been for a very long time. The Crew 2 is so important. It's so important, not only for us as, like, just gamers. Like, if you're subscribed to my channel, the likelihood is you like racing games. And the Crew 2 is so important as a whole for racing games. Not only because it's the only one which is releasing on most platforms, but also because it could be the first game in a while we've had that has both personality and good build quality. And those are 2 things, like I said, for the whole of this video, this genre is lacking tremendously. Most recent Golden Age games goes as follows for me, and I can't think of any of the games which go onto this list. And they're all on the PS3 as far as I'm concerned. It goes Midnight Club, this, Forza Horizon, and Hop Shoot 2010. As far as I'm concerned, those were the last proper Golden Age racing games. To me, there's nothing since then which is even on par. Maybe the Crew 1. Maybe the Crew 1. But like I said, the Crew 1 did feel awfully bland at points and was awfully buggy at points. Now, a lot of those issues have been solved. But not as much as, say, you know, like this game. Like, this game still has a lot of personality and a better build quality than the Crew 1. And I can't say that, you know, for that game. Hopefully I'm making sense when I say that. Anyway, let me know what you think. I don't know. As a YouTuber, it's really worrying. I don't want to get burnt out on racing games, but at the same time, I feel like I'm going back to older games because the newer games are shit. And that's the one thing which is stopping me being burnt out, is the fact that I've got access to older games. Otherwise, I don't know what I'd be doing. For me, like, my next move now is to set my PS2 back up and get that back on the go, and set up my PS3 and get that back on the go. Because honestly, it's getting to the point for me, I'm getting worried for racing games as a whole. I hope the Crew 2 nails it, and I hope the Crew 2 is one of those games which not only nails it, but you guys are interested in, because I want that game to carry my channel through to the end of the year, because there's no other games other than maybe Horizon and GT which I'm really that interested in the racing genre, which is weird because a lot of games are coming out this year outside of racing. I might mix and match, and don't worry, racing games aren't going anywhere. Like I said, this has been my main genre since I was a little kid. You know, especially when I was growing up through secondary school, a lot of people would be like, oh, why did you play Need for Speed, or why did you play this, that, and the other? gamer, it's because I really enjoy those games. That isn't going to change. That won't ever change. I've always been a racing gamer. And that's here to stay. But I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are. You know, leave some discussion down in the comment section down below. I will be keeping an eye on it. I know I've been a bit shit with my replies recently, but I promise I do read every single comment which is left on my videos. So again, that's down there in the comment section. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to go ahead and hit the like, subscribe. I will see you guys in the next one. You guys have been awesome. Stay safe and peace.